I think I think we might be live. Let's see. Yeah. So we are live. This is the average Iowa guy um, live stream for tonight. So what I wanted to do was kind of give you an update on what I'm doing with the channel and some ideas I have and things I might like to do at some point, and kind of go from there. Um, Another idea for this chat was that I would get some ideas from you guys as to what you would like to see in future videos. And in order to make that happen, what you would need to do is in the little window that says chat on the right side there, if you just type a suggestion, I'll get it and I'll be able to see it. Um, it's probably going to be a bit before people start joining, I would imagine. And oh, who knows? Maybe nobody will join, and that's okay too. That'll give me a chance to just kind of tell you about uh, what I've been up to. So today, on the way home, I did a couple surgeries this afternoon, and on the way home, I was on my motorcycle, and I was coming around the corner by my house, and it looked like there was a rock right in the. Oh, hi, Chris Thompson says hi. So anyway, there was a rock. It looked like there was a rock in the road, and it looked like a rabbit-shaped rock, like a really small rabbit. And so I was like, "Dang, that's a weird-looking rock." And as I got a little closer to it, I of course slowed down, and I saw it was like this little baby bunny. So he can't be sitting like right where your wheel goes in the road, or he's going to get run over. So I got off the bike and kind of shoot him back into some grass where there was uh, there's a little orchard there, and maybe his mom's hanging back in there eating some cherries and whatnot. So hopefully he'll be all right. Anyway, uh, Chris Thompson, if you have any suggestions at all for what you would like to see in a video, put it in now or whenever you feel like it, or if you don't want to contribute, you can always add in the comments or send me an email or something like that. Um, but so here we are. Um, what I kind of want to do with the channel is I want to evolve it with the times. So I think I started this channel, oh, I forget, maybe it was like 2011 or something like that. So that's like 6 years of time that's gone by, and there's been a lot of technology updates in that time. Uh, one of uh, one of which is the ability to live stream. So Chris says, I like cooking tips videos. Okay, well, since you made a suggestion, I will make a cooking video. What do you want me to cook? And I will try to come up with a good recipe. I'll test it a bit, make sure my family wants to eat it, and then um, give it a shot. And so I'm going to make a note so I don't forget. Um, but as I was saying, this channel could do a lot more with the technology. When I first started it, there was really no such thing as live streaming it, not on YouTube anyway. And I think live streaming just came on this year for YouTube. And the original cutoff was 10,000 subscribers, and I had that right away, but I had no idea how to live stream. And I liked watching live streams. I just didn't have really a lot of know-how on how to do it. So I've kind of been researching that and figuring it out. One way to do it is with your phone, if you've got a phone with an internet connection. I have an iPhone, and so I can do it that way real well. Pickling videos and thermos meals. Okay, I'll make I'll make a thermos meal, and I'll get right on that because I've been eating one. I just haven't put together a video of it. Thermos meal. And then as far as the pickling, I could make a kimchi video. I make kimchi quite a bit. Let's see. The other thing, it's not really pickled, but I've been experimenting with is my family ran the butcher shop in Pella. That Pella, Iowa is like a Dutch place, and of course I'm Dutch. And my family ran the butcher shop there. And so if you look up Pella bologna, it was like my grandfather's grandfather who made that. And anyway, he made the Pella bologna, and then eventually sold the butcher shop. And the family legend is that he regretted it the second he did it. Well, that recipe's been lost, and one thing I've been doing is kind of trying to recreate that, and I think I've got it down. I made a bologna, but the kind of bologna I like is called pickle loaf, and so or pimento olive loaf is probably actually more accurate. And so I made some olive loaf, and it's awesome. So eventually I'm going to put up a video on how to do that. I don't know how many people like that sort of thing, but most of the time when I make a video for the channel, I make something that I'm interested in so that I can like remember how to do it at a later date. I can always refer back to it, or if my kids wanted to know how to do something, then I could ask. They can always refer back to the video. But I'm trying to be more engaged with the subscribers now that I can live stream. So I got another comment from the Queen's Cabinet, and you've made summer sausage. Now, see, I haven't even tried that because if I'm not mistaken, that is a fermented sausage, and I get a little funny about that because I haven't ever fermented meat. I've fermented vegetables like cabbage, and of course I've fermented malted barley and other things like that, and honey. But I haven't ever tried it with meat, and I'm just a little nervous about it. But the pickled pimento loaf or olive loaf is really good. Chris Thompson also added he enjoyed the South American videos, and so did I. And I actually have tons and tons of footage from the last time I was there that I just haven't done anything with yet. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go through some of that and put together a video. For instance, when we were in Guyana, and I had a video up like this for a little bit, but I had to make it private because there was some like music in it, and but anyway, I'll recreate that. We built a raft and got on a river, and then the raft sunk, and you can imagine what that was like. Yosemite Sam says, always like the Dutch oven outdoor cooking. Okay, well, I'm going to write that down. So for sure I'm making a South American video, and I will make a Dutch oven video. Anything in particular you want to see cooked in a Dutch oven? And Queen's Cabinet says, I use the packet. Sorry, my mic went out. It didn't think I was doing anything. Probably because I'm not getting audio feedback in here, so every once in a while my mic is going to cut out. So you used the from Bass Pro Shops and then smoked it. Well, maybe I'll try that someday. I make all kinds of stuff in the Dutch oven, but I don't always think to make a video. So I'll go back through the videos I've done and then pick out a good recipe that I make a lot, and I'll do that. So anyway, while what I was saying about the channel is I kind of want to modernize it a bit. I'd like to be able to do live streams like this and um, other stuff like that, and then eventually, if I'm a really good boy, what I'll do is maybe do some hangouts, video hangouts where we can shoot the breeze or something. That'd take some doing. It'd have, scheduling and all of that. The other thing I've done is I like to do a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of interests that like really don't fit too well on this channel. And every time I do something like that, I like lose a couple subscribers because I think it pisses them off. So uh, I have a live streams channels like Average Iowa Guy live streams, and there's a link in the video description there. If you're a subscriber of this channel, it really doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to that channel, and you can just ignore it. But what I kind of need to do is I need to get that subscriber count up, because then I can enable some features that I can do on this channel that I can't do on the other one. Like for instance, on the other one, unless I have 1,000 subscribers, I can't live stream from my phone. Now see, that would be the ticket, live streaming from my phone, because I can go out in the middle of the woods and be doing something stupid out there and live stream it, but I can only do it on this channel and not the other one until I get 1,000 subscribers over there. Let's see. So the other thing I'm doing over there is probably quite a few of my subscribers also subscribe to the Knife Journal podcast, which you can get on iTunes. It's something my friend James Noka and I make as often as we can. It's really hard. But one thing that everybody was always asking for was if we would, because we talk about knives and all these sorts of things, and that's not a very audio friendly format to be talking about different knives, because what happens is people have to pause and then like go Google what we're talking about, and everybody was always asking us to do it as a stream where people could see us. So on the Average Iowa Guy live streams, we're doing that over there. And that was pretty cool. For the first time we ever did it, I thought it turned out pretty well. Let's see, what else? Oh, and then also on the Knife Journal podcast, this is kind of funny. We had a little bit of a fail. We were supposed to have Patrick Ma from Prometheus Design Works. He's a friend of Jim's, and I've never met him, but he's a good friend of Jim's. And we scheduled him to be on the podcast live, and Jim told him 11 a.m., but he didn't tell him Eastern. So he like slept through our podcast. So we're trying to reschedule that. He's got quite interesting designs and things like that, and it's kind of neat. Kind of neat to be able to pick somebody's brain like that. Clearly, the guy has his finger on the pulse of what I like, and probably what a lot of you like in terms of design and things like that. Chris Thompson says, I just want to add that I like your channel because it is both educational and family friendly. I have a 10-year-old. Well, that's the idea. I try to be a good boy on here. I try not to swear too much, but sometimes maybe it slips. But most of what I do, as you've noticed on this channel, is either like little adventure videos, which I don't make a huge number of those, because they don't tend to get like as many views as the other stuff. But a lot of what I do is like how-to videos, and those always get a lot of reviews or a lot of views if I'm doing something that people are interested in. So probably the biggest videos on my channel with it, and they're in like the hundreds of thousands of views, are the ones where I forge stuff out of lawnmower blades. So I'm halfway thinking of making another one of those in the near future. Um, the the cooking videos, those do well too. Probably the best one is the Philly cheesesteak one. For some reason, I have like one of the top Google videos for how to do that. And then there's all these people that get on there and like troll the comments and stuff, so I really don't pay much attention to it. But that's a big one. Um, I've got a video that I'm currently working on. I've got all of the actual like cooking parts of it done, but I haven't recorded the audio yet, and I'm going to do that probably this weekend. And that's like 3 secrets to making great diner style burgers. And I did some research, and I went to like some pretty top places to try to figure out what it was they were doing. And the last place I went was this place just across the Mackinac Bridge into the UP. I think it's called Clyde's. And it's like a big famous, because it's right on that highway that goes across the UP, and it's right at the corner where the bridge is. And so, big famous place, and I kind of watched what they were doing and figured it out. One of my videos that I'm particularly proud of in the cooking department is the fried chicken, because that one took a lot of research and a lot of snooping around in different kitchens and things like that. But so one of the places that I go a lot with my family is Frankenmuth, Michigan, and there's a real famous restaurant there called Zender's, and they serve like this great chicken. I really like it. And then right across the street is Bavarian Inn, and they serve great chicken. And I probably go there every other month and spend a weekend with the kids. Like there's a water park there, and like there's great like sausage places where you can buy stuff. And so where was I going with that? Oh, so I kind of snooped around, uh, and I have some inside sources, uh, and I pretty much figured out how they make their chicken. And so that video produces like really good results, and it's actually I'm proud of it because I did a lot of work on it. So there's that. Let's see. I wonder how many people are watching. Oh, I got 4 watchers. That's pretty good. And we're getting comments. Let's see. Or anyway, we're getting some chat, which is really nice. So back to the live streams channel. I was saying that I have some interests that are somewhat goofy, that don't really go well on this channel. Like ever since I was like a little kid, I've liked playing games, and so video games are like something I did quite a bit. So I played like started out with that like Pong game that you would like connect to your TV, and it was like there was like a up and down thing on each side, and then like a little ball would go back and forth, and you had to hit it. Microphone cut out again. Anyway, you had to hit it back and forth, so that was Pong. Then the next one I got was Atari 2600. Then I had a Nintendo, and then I was pretty much out of that for quite a while. The next thing I bought was like I bought a used Xbox for a while because when I was a resident, I'd have to go on call and stay in the hospital. One time I had to stay in the hospital from Monday at 4 a.m. to the next Monday at like 10 p.m. So I bought a used one of those because it like kept me somewhat sane, gave me something to do. Um, and then I bought a Wii for my kids and then a Wii U. I'm not as impressed with that, except the bowling is really good. Um, and the Wii Sports, we like the sword fighting game. That's pretty fun. And let's see, what else? Yeah, that's really all I really like on that. And then I bought an Xbox One, which is like right behind me, and that's pretty good game or pretty good gaming system. I'm much more of a PC gamer though, but there are some things you can do on the Xbox One and some games you can play there that you can't play on PC. So that's why I have that. On PC, I'm really hot on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds right now. Um, Chris Thompson says, sadly, video games make me angry now for some reason, so I avoid them. Well, join the club. there's 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 the thrill of victory and definitely the agony of defeat. And my wife doesn't like playing them and hasn't liked playing them since she was a little kid for that very reason. They She gets frustrated and gets mad, and of course, I do too. Um, but the game I'm like really into right now is this PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and so I've been streaming some stuff over there. It's basically a first-person shooter, and I'm trying to get like people to get that so they can like join a team with me or something. My brother and I play quite a bit, and so whenever you see over there us playing a a two-person team, it's my brother. Um, and we goof around. We got a weird sense of humor. It's my sense of humor over there is pretty much absurdist. So like, obviously it's really dumb for somebody as like white and nerdy as me to be rapping. So every once in a while we'll like recite rap lyrics and stuff. I don't know. Not everybody gets that kind of humor, but he and I get a charge out of it, and we do that quite a bit. Um, and anyway, it's a fun game. I'm getting better at it. I'm still not very good. I have gotten, interestingly, a chicken dinner. That's what you get when you win. It says like winner, winner, chicken dinner. I've gotten two of those, and you get like another special screen thing if you show up in the top 10. And I show up in the top 10 right now about 12% of the time, which isn't great, but it's probably good for me. Um, anyway, I like that game. The other thing I play a lot of is board games, but that's kind of difficult to stream. And then I play some D&D. I started playing when it was like the first edition, like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I had like a little red box. Let's see if I can find it. Anyway, I got so many books on the shelf I can't get it. But anyway, if you remember, the red box was was the red box was like a starter set that you could it came with like an adventure and like some basic rules, and so I started with that, and then I didn't play from high school on because I don't know, I like had a girlfriend later on, and I was really into sports and things like that. But as soon as they came out with 5th edition, I started playing again, and I play a lot online, and that's pretty easy to stream. So you can find that over there. Now, Quinn Mether says, liquid-fueled rocket, make it. I'd probably get arrested for that. Now, I'm going to look and see on my YouTube channel here. I think I've got a video that I shot in South America that you might be interested in if you're into that kind of thing. Let me find it here. Let's see. scrolling back. It was a couple years ago I made it. Anyway, it's the guy I was with there is Israeli Special Forces, or he was at one point. He's older now. He turned 65 when we were out there. But anyway, he has some rather interesting ways of doing things. Let me see if I can just search for it. I think it was called Bushcraft butter. Bushcraft butter. If I can search for that on my channel. Or maybe that's what I called it later. I'm not finding it. Anyway, if you look through my videos, I've got a thing on there where he makes a rather interesting. Oh, here it is. It's Bomba Bushcraft, Bomba Bushcraft. It was published April 16th, 2013, and it was filmed in Guyana by a guy that was actually like knew what he was doing. So it was like maybe it was a little safer, but basically he makes napalm and he carries it in a little like plastic thing, and you just take like a little teeny piece of it and put it on. Even in the jungle, all that wood is wet, and so he takes like a little piece of it and puts it on the wood, and you light it, and it just burns and burns and burns, and you can light a fire like crazy with that, and you can light it with a fire striker. So look that video up if you're into like rocket fuels and stuff like that. I did have a video of when I made a Estes model rocket with my daughter. Let me see if I can find that. And that one we launched it, and I had a drone flying overhead, and it almost hit the drone. Let me see if I can find the title of that for you. Yeah, it's September 7th, 2014, drone footage of an Estes model rocket launch. And that was a fun video to make, and like I said, it almost hit the camera. Also, if you're into explosives and stuff like that, I got this it kind of to troll my neighbors, because where I live in northern Michigan, in a place where there's pretty it tends to be pretty liberal, or if you're not super liberal, you just don't talk about politics, and so I just don't. But to troll my neighbors, I got this thing called Trump fireworks, and it was like one of these like multi-shell like things that blasts off, and it said Trump on the side, and it says making fireworks great again. So and I shot that off, and then I also shot that from a drone, and again the drone almost got blown up, but that's over on the live streams channel. I really appreciate it if people subscribe to that. It doesn't cost you anything, and if you don't like the content, just ignore it, or turn off alerts when I publish something over there. Like I was saying, eventually I will be able to make some content there that you really like, because let's say maybe you're into skiing. Well, so am I. If I go out west, which I do quite frequently, he says, Chris Thompson says, "Wait, you're not in Iowa? Fraud." Just kidding. Well, I moved to northern Michigan. I moved to northern Michigan like a couple years ago, so I've been living here. I kind of wanted to live by water, and someday what I'll do is I'll make a video with my drone and fly it straight up from my house. I live on this little peninsula in the woods, and the peninsula is like a mile wide. Sometimes it's a little bit wider, like maybe a mile and a half. It's this little narrow peninsula that stretches out 18 miles into Lake Michigan. and I live I think 7 miles out on that. And so if I launch the drone straight up from my house, it looks like I'm on an island. It's pretty cool. But I wanted to live by water, and there just wasn't enough woods left in Iowa to make me happy anymore. And so that's why I moved here. And I've just right out the window there. Maybe I'll show you. See that? That's uh, that's where I live. So so I actually live in the woods now, and it was like that's pretty nice because it's quiet. I live on a dead end, and nobody drives by, all night long honking and all this crap. And you can see the stars because there's no street lights, which I like. Um, I can pee outside without disturbing anyone because I don't have neighbors really. Um, and it was like kind of like I grew up, I grew up in the woods, and so I really liked that. Um, Chris Thompson says I can relate. I like the woods too. Um, that's probably why you watch my channel. We have similar interests, um, and so that's what I do. Um, but eventually, like say you're interested in skiing, well, so am I. What I'd like to be able to do is go up to the top of a mountain somewhere and ski down and live stream it. Uh, and I can do that. And then if I wipe out, you'll see it and probably be laughing and stuff. Um, but I want to do that over on the other channel. It doesn't really fit here as well. Um, let's see. Any other questions? Anything you want me to talk about, or especially if you have suggestions for a video or whatever, let me know. The agony of defeat. Okay, so I'll tell you about some injuries I've had uh, skiing, and then I can tell you all about all these other screw ups I've had. Because it's not always success. Um, that's just the way it is. So you have failures. So like for instance, recently when I filmed that coffin Bowie, the making of a coffin-handled Bowie. Um, can you get a tour of my bookshelf at some point? Well, which one? The one that was in the live stream from earlier, or the one that's right behind me? Um, well, anyway, before I move on, when I was filming that coffin Bowie, I didn't show it on the film, but I got cut right here on my finger. It's healed now um, by the belt because I was grinding and my finger got up next to the belt. And then I was done. It was like razor sharp, perfectly sharp, and I was wiping oil off the blade, and my pinky slipped. And let's see if you can see that. It basically cut the end of my pinky off, and I took the little piece and stuck it back down with a band-aid, and it took as a skin graft. So what happened with Mickey Grossman and the Amazon 5000? Well, successfully made it all the way across. I'm not sure. I know he's got many thousands of hours of footage of that 3-camera shoot. Basically, um, anytime anything was happening, what happened was there was at least one camera on. Um, like and stuff was always happening. Like it was just insane. Like I was on 2 boats that sunk there. One of them was one of these big river boats that was probably used to be a steamer, but they converted it to diesel engines. Um, and that one, it was the middle of the night in the Amazon River, and we were going back upstream to drop somebody off at an airport to get them out of there. And the damn thing caught on fire. And we had to like abandon ship. So, I can tell that story sometime. But and then the other boat, we built this raft, and it did really well for a while, but um, it sunk eventually with me on it. So that kind of sucked. But we made it all the way across. He's got footage of it. They did a documentary out of it that aired on Israeli TV, but I don't know what's going on with the American stuff. It's been long enough now that I don't know whether any of that's going to happen or not. Um, let's see. Next, Edward Burke says, "Dude, do more recipes, please." Okay, you gotta suggest what you want me to cook, and if I know how to cook it, I'll make it. If I don't, I will research it and come up with a good recipe and film it and put it up there. Rick T says, "I may be relocating and northern Michigan is on the short list. Would you recommend it?" Absolutely. Where I would recommend in northern Michigan is within 10 miles of the western coast. So in northern Michigan, very northern Michigan, where I am, the two places that really meet that, well, maybe there's three that meet that pretty well, and I'll rank them in order of preference. So you have Traverse City, which is it's like 50,000 permanent residents, and then it swells to like 500,000 in the summer because it's like this big resort area. And so you can imagine all the amenities um, all the amenities you could ever imagine are in a city like that. Mario Battaglia comes and summers here and cooks at one of our restaurants, and all kinds of good stuff, and film festivals and cherry festival and all kinds of things. Um, so there's that. Um, the second preference would be Petoskey, but Petoskey is a lot smaller and it doesn't have near the amenities that Traverse City has. And then third would be Ludington, which is further south of here. It's about 2 hours or so. But it's kind of a neat little resort town, and there's a ferry from Ludington that crosses over to Wisconsin, and I think it ends up a little bit south of Milwaukee. I took it one time, and I went with my kids, and it's a car ferry, so you can drive your car on, and we were driving back to Iowa, and my kids are, they're modern kids. They're not like super modern, but they're modern kids. They're like anybody. And my daughter had a Nintendo 3DS, and we were on there, and like all of a sudden, I look around and there's like tons and tons and tons of like Amish people. I'm like, what's going on here? Um, but it's a coal-fired ferry, and I think it's one of the last ones. It's like some historical thing or something. Maybe that's why they could ride it or whatever. But and of course they had a lot of kids with them, and I have this picture that I took where there's this Amish boy kind of looking over at my daughter like she was from outer space. It was funny. Um, so let's see. So that's what I would recommend. Hopefully that helps you. Mr. Peter 0201, Smoked Thanksgiving with Ethan Becker, also sponsored by Garlic. Well, I would have to be in the same place at the same time with Ethan Becker to do that exactly like that. But I do see him a couple times a year. I'm probably going to go back this fall. I don't know. Usually that's a pretty big gathering, like 50 people there, and it's kind of hard to do a smoked turkey for that. But maybe this Thanksgiving I'll smoke a turkey. So I'm going to write that down, and I'll show you what I do. It's my favorite way to do a turkey. I also have done it in the turkey fryer, so I'll do that. I'm going to write down smoked turkey. There's also a whole bunch of sides that are real traditional in Iowa that I've never put up. And when I came up here, like nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. But one is scalloped corn, which is like awesome. Uh, And so what I'll do is I'll put something like that up. And then there's this green bean casserole, which I'm pretty sure everybody has, but everybody was shocked by the scalloped corn, so maybe I'll put that up. Mr. Mesmerize says, "Hi guys, hope you have a good time." Hey, thanks for joining us and saying something in chat. If there's anything you want to see more of on the channel, just let me know. Mr. Peter 0201, just a thought. That stuff is magical. So that's the when I show up and have Ethan in my videos. Let's see what else. So I got a thumbs up on the regional dishes. Okay, so Chris Thompson says, I've heard that mosquitoes there are about the size of sparrows. It's no worse than it was when I was in Iowa. And actually, there were more mosquitoes where I lived in Iowa than there are here. And by here, I mean exactly in this house and in my woods. I can go outside right now and there's hardly any mosquitoes. It's actually pretty rare to see mosquitoes here because about 4:30 every night, the wind picks up and it blows them off of the out of the woods um, and so I don't have a lot of mosquitoes here. But now up where Jim lives, Jim Noka, his mosquitoes are insane. You don't even want to know. I don't even like going outside his house because like you just get killed. Let's see, a katana build. Well, I'll think about it. I'm not positive. I'm not positive I'd be able to execute that well, but I'll research it, and if I think I can do it, I'll do it. Rick T says, a couple years ago, you recommended a book on charcuterie, maybe doing a ham or something. Okay, well, that's easy enough to do. I have one up for Canadian bacon, which is really good that I made a while ago. That is fantastic, and that wasn't in charcuterie. I just came up with that on my own. I also have one up on dried beef, you know, the kind that you make dried beef and pickle and cream cheese and all of that. Or one of my favorites, and anybody who's been in the military, and I never was, but anybody who's in the military hates chipped beef on toast. I love the stuff. So I could do like a prosciutto, which is like ham. Maybe I'll do that. I'll write that down. That's a good idea. So I'm getting a lot of requests for cooking stuff. So obviously I need to focus a little bit more on some of that. Jay Watterson 69 says, how do you put the final sharpened edge on your knife? Do you use a belt or a stone? A belt. And I tell you what I'll do. I'm going to make a video on my edge, because I learned how to do it from Jerry Fisk, and he taught me how to do a convex edge. So that'd be easy enough for me to do because I do it all the time anyway. So what I'll do is I'll start with a heat treated knife. I always heat treat and leave the edge about a dime thickness, and then I just put the final edge on at the end. So what I'll do is the next knife I make, I will just the only thing I'm going to show is how to do a convex edge. Let's see. Average Iowa chimichurri. Maybe I'll do that. I haven't eaten a lot of that. I eat something that's similar to that. I like I think most cultures have something like that, but my favorite version of that is from India, and they take and make cilantro and sometimes mint and lemon juice and salt and usually a couple hot peppers, and they blend that up real fine, and you get like a green stuff that you can use as a chutney. Maybe I'll make something like that. It's really easy, and it'd be stupid easy for me to do a video on it. I don't know why I haven't, because I make that quite a bit. Mr. Mesmerize says, we have so many mosquitoes here in southwest Germany that they actually spray the breeding zones via helicopter. Well, I think my name is Average Iowa Guy, and I support that message. I don't like mosquitoes either. Are you anywhere by the Black Forest, and do you ever get to play there? Um, Power Plant says either 505 or SOS. I gotta look and see what exactly was said there. SOS. And Chris Thompson says, I like SOS too. Hated it as a kid, but my dad loves it. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna repeat that in the video. People can look that up. But it's basically what I was saying is you have so I could film that too. I love the stuff. I don't know what people's problem is with it. Maybe they just don't make it right in the military or whatever. But you take dried beef and you chop it up like real fine, um, and then uh, you make a white sauce, so butter and a little flour, and then some whole milk and a little salt and stuff, and um, then you add in your chipped beef, and it's like really tasty. You got to be careful with the salt on that though, because the chipped beef is pretty salty just by itself. And then I add a little pepper, and then you just put it on toast, and I could eat that all day long. Yeah, that's really good. Um, Jay Watterson 69 says, after attending some of the best, what are your thoughts on survival schools? Are they worth the time and money? Well, um, it depends. Um, the so I'll before I answer that, let me just answer Mr. Mesmerize here. He says, yes, I live approximately 30 kilometers from the Black Forest near the French border. Good guess. I've always wanted to go to the Black Forest. Maybe someday I'll do that. It's just a neat part of the world I'd love to see. Maybe someday. Um, Polarizing but a butchering video this fall. Okay, so I did something similar to that, where I took and uh, butchered a deer, and I put all these warnings up and things like that. Um, but that didn't get as much hate as I thought it would. But of course, back then the channel was a lot smaller, and um, it was I just don't think enough people saw it to get pissed off. And plus, that was enough years ago that it was before this big social justice warrior thing where they hunt you down and do all kinds of mean stuff to you. That's another reason why I tend to shy away from political subjects as much as I can, or at least give people a really good warning before I do anything like that. Now, back to survival schools. So I grew up in the woods, and I was always decent at outdoor stuff. And I always like went with like a Swiss Army knife and like a tent and a backpack, and I went like all the way across the boundary waters when I was just a kid. Um, did all kinds of stuff like that, and used to my one of my forms of entertainment besides playing games and stuff was just most weekends in the fall I would just take off and go camping somewhere. My parents let me get away with that, which is uh, what they don't know can't hurt them. But anyway, so I was pretty good at most of those things, and then I went to Haiti, and this was right after the earthquake, and there really weren't any facilities or anything like that, and so my mic, what can I tell you? Anyway, so for the first 24 hours, I was there with this vascular surgeon. I'm a plastic surgeon, and we went and down there to help. And for the first 24 hours, we couldn't find anybody. The stuff we the arrangements we made fell through, so I was like homeless in Port-au-Prince for like 24 hours. And my wife knows this story, and I've made it very public. But we needed to get some water, and so the only place that was open had like music and stuff coming out of it, and they had like these big guys in suits standing out front. And I said, well, I bet we can get some water in there. So we went in there, and I go up to this bar, and like immediately like four women like come out of nowhere and like approach. And I probably don't have to tell you what kind of a place that was. So we got our water and got the heck out of there. But you know, that really was kind of an eye-opening trip, because I'm really used to, you know, the Great Plains, and you know, kind of northern woods. And this was a completely new environment, and it kind of spooked me a little bit. So I signed up for a pretty famous jungle survival course that I found by Googling it. And I went on that and learned quite a bit, and also got to see a little bit of South America, and that's probably what gave me my South America bug. And I got a decent skill set and at that kind of environment, and then I really fleshed that out on the Amazon 5000. You know, little things. It's little habits like don't walk too damn fast. Don't do heavy work in the heat of the sun. Wait. Um, you know, find really efficient ways of finding food, and by far the most efficient is you buy like a one of these fishing nets for, you know, ours was like 50 feet long and it had floats on it, and you get like five guys and you find a sandy bank along the Amazon or any river, and then you know that there's probably not going to be stuff sticking up out of the bottom. That sand probably extends well into there. Well, one guy swims out, and then you have a few guys along the line, and then one guy on shore, and you just drift down river with that, and then eventually the guy on the outside circles in and wraps up all the fish. And we caught so many damn fish that we would like give them away um, to people that we saw and found and stuff. And anytime you bring food, it's really appreciated. This is going to sound really stupid, but carry some damn hot sauce with you if you go down there. It's like a great like icebreaker, and there isn't a person in the world that's eating the same shit every day, sorry about the bad word, that doesn't like a little hot sauce on their food. So um, that sounds really stupid, but most of the survival stuff is social, and it's about attitude, and if you can get along with people really well socially, um, even if you can't speak their language, you're you're gonna you're gonna survive. The other thing I learned is you don't stay 2 nights in the same place. Um, let's see. And then, like I was saying, pacing. It's not a race. Don't wear yourself out and get all sweaty and dehydrated and stuff like that. I learned a lot of. Now, this is all stuff I did on the Amazon 5000. This isn't stuff I did with the Jungle Survival course, but it just, I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to think of everything and say all of it. But anyway, so I learned that environment, and then I was like, well, you know, if I was ever in desert, I'd be screwed because I don't know anything about it. So I did some research on what I thought, or what people thought were good jungle survival, or not jungle, desert survival schools, and the one that is like by far the best, at least ratings wise, and also since I've been there, I can say that it is quality, is the Boulder Outdoor Survival School. And they really, really, really sharpened uh, my ability to get by with less. And it was like, that's kind of what pushed me from carrying a bunch of shit to just carrying a very basic bare minimum kit, and then everything that you need to repair your stuff. And then they really got me thinking about having things that were multi-use. So you have you have a pot that you can boil water in, melt snow in, eat out of, use for storage inside your pack. Just stupid stuff like that, or a tarp, a hammock with a bug net, built-in bug net, and then like also I usually carry like a separate little bug net in case I need to build some sort of a swamp bed or something like that, and the hammock won't work. And then I'm really fond of just bringing one of these little lightweight blow-up air mattresses. So I've got like a Thermarest Neo Air or something like that. It's the green one that's a little bit longer that I use a lot. And then I have a video up on this. It's like a teeny tiny little air mattress. It folds up into like this. I can't remember the name of it, but a lot of times if I'm going somewhere, I'll just have that in my bag, even if I'm not planning on doing any camping or anything, because there's been times where I had to stay overnight and sleep on the floor in an airport, and that just makes it so much better. So Boulder Outdoor Survival School, the other thing I learned was, of course, pacing. They were really, really good at navigation, compass navigation. And I learned a lot about that. And of course, I learned about the environment, where to find water. Yeah, it's the climate one. But anyway, I learned how to find water, how to read the signs to point towards where water is. So like animal tracks, if you follow animal tracks, especially if you find trails of two different animals and they're all going in the same direction, they're probably going towards water. So, and then watching the way birds fly, different things like, are there insects around? If there's insects around, like gnats and stuff, there's water nearby somewhere. And then how to find it if there's no open source, where to dig and stuff like that. Watching for plants and things. A lot of times if there's a hill or something, or in there it'd be like a canyon, at the base of the canyon next to the wall there'll be like some vegetation there. If you dig down there, you're going to find water. And then different plants that you can find water out of and stuff like that. Now I will warn you about both the jungle one and the desert one, as they starve your ass. Like, it's crazy. And I'm not a huge fan of that, but I guess if we covered so much distance in both of those that if you had to carry all that food, it'd be crazy. But and then on the Amazon 5000, we carried some food. We carried like staples, but most of what we ate was like either hunting, like hunting pigs with big knives and clubs, pow, stick, and then we'd find fruit. If you see a bunch of monkeys, there's fruit around. And then, of course, eating monkeys and sloths and snakes and all kinds of other crap. And then fish. If you can get fish, it's best, I think. Piranhas are actually tasty, but they're bony. So anyway, the Boulder Outdoor Survival School is really good. And then trying to think if I've been up to Moore's. That's Karamat Wilderness Ways. I got a lot out of that one. That was a winter one. And I'd screwed around with building igloos and stuff before, and snow shelters, but I learned the right way to do it there, and where to locate them, and where to look for the right kind of snow and stuff like that. And then, of course, he had you make all kinds of things like snowshoes and pack frames, and then just different tips and tricks, and they feed you well there, so that was a good one. And then they taught how to build the like the super shelter that you can like stay warm in, like crispy warm. And I think I have a video up on that somewhere. It's like the Kelly. It's like the Kelly Harleton super shelter or something like that. Anyway, that Kelly Harleton guy, he's like a really good teacher. If you can ever meet up with him somewhere, you would be wise to do so. He's a very, very good teacher. I'm not the greatest teacher uh, in that sort of a setting. I'm much better at like making a video and showing how to do things than I am like sitting down and teaching people how to do it. Although I say that, and I teach residents and medical students how to do surgery. So you'd think I'd be good at teaching the bushcraft and stuff, but there's people that are so much better at that than I am that at the teaching part of it. That it's worth your time to seek those people out. There's another guy. I mean, I've met a lot of people. I mean, chances are wherever you live, there's going to be some guy teaching like survival courses and things. And just check up on it. Most of the time they don't charge a bunch of money, and if you just go for like a weekend or something, just check it out. You won't be out a lot of money, and you'll spend some good time in the woods. Um, there are a lot of people that are big fans of the Pathfinder stuff. I haven't ever done that, but one of my good friends. Let me see if I can find his channel. I want to recommend him. Um, oh boy, let me look at my subscriptions here. Oh, I guess I got to go to home here. Um, anyway, he made a video. Maybe you'll remember it if you ever go over to Blade Forums. He made a video. There's all this controversy about whether you need a. Let me just find his name first before I get in. Oh, it's Foxwalk Primitive. So if you look up Foxwalk, Foxwalk Primitive, he's one of the guys that's like really big into the Pathfinder thing. Um, um, and I haven't been there. He really likes it. And I think I've spent some time in the woods with him, and he's actually really good. And got a real level head, and so he had to get that from somewhere, and I'm thinking that he probably learned something at the Pathfinders school. Um, I've probably said this before, but where I learned the most was just growing up doing this stuff, and also from Boy Scouts. Let's see. Um, what do I think of Wrangler Star? I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. Um, maybe I'll look into it. Um, if you have a Native American culture center nearby, they're likely to have some courses. Yeah, that's true. And um, I've never taken a course like that, except I have gone on some plant walks with some of them, and those are usually very, very good. Um, let's see, is it a one-person shelter? We built something a couple years back. It was nice and warm, but I had a ton of ticks on me. Yuck. Is borreliosis a thing in the U.S. as well? So I think you're probably talking about Lyme's disease. Yes, it is. There's a reason why I like to camp. If I'm camping unless it's freezing or unless it's in late fall, um, I camp with bug protection. So a hammock, it needs to be double bottomed because they will bite you through the bottom of it if it's not double bottomed. And then I also, in addition, have a sleeping pad on top of that, and then a built-in bug net. I use the War Bonnet Outdoors Blackbird. Um, um, so I tend to do most of my camping in the fall and spring, late fall when most of the bugs are gone, and then in the spring. Um, and those are the only times when I screw around with shelters, like like in the winter. The super shelter, that is best for the winter because you can stay warm. Jay Watterson 69 says I would avoid anything Pathfinder related, and honestly, I've heard that before, and that's why I don't really have an opinion on it one way or another, but I do know one guy that is real big on it, and he's really good in the woods. But he told me that he takes some things and leaves others. So I don't know if that makes any difference to you. And then Jay Watterson says, have you attended any urban seer courses? No, I haven't. I think if I was going to, I would go with Chance Sanders. I think he does some stuff like that, and he's a good friend of mine. Chance's story was that he was like homeless from the age of 15 until he could join the Marines at 18 or whenever they let him join. Um, so that's and I know he's good. I've spent a lot of time with that guy, and I know he knows what he's doing. Um, so if I was going to go to a school like that, I'd go to Chance Sanders. Scurvy says YouTube channel on homesteading. Only other time I've seen a Holzhausen. I can't remember if I made a video on that. Um, um, I can't remember if I made a video on that or not. I know I've had it. It's shown up in my videos because it's actually kind of neat to have in the frame. Um, it was fun to make. Some guy showed up and dumped literally a semi-load of logs on my yard when I was on vacation. I came back and there was like this huge semi-load of logs last summer, and that's why I had to cut back so much on knives and videos because I spent all summer cutting and splitting that. I had to get a new chainsaw, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna make some use out of this. I'm gonna make a Holzhausen because I always wanted to make one of those. Um, so Scurvy, I think you're probably referring to the other channel on homesteading and saying that it's not really survival related, but gear and outdoor related. That's pretty cool. I like those. A lot of times when I'm gonna buy something, I will look at a few different YouTube reviews of it. Early on, Nut and Fancy, I know, don't. Um, Early on, Nut and Fancy had some really good review videos that actually I got some good gear out of. One of the things that he recommended that I uh, really liked, but mine I used it so much it's no longer really functioning, is the Phoenix LD20, and I got it with the little ear with the headband so I could have it as a headlamp. So that was really good. And then every once in a while he'll have some video that piques my interest, but most of his stuff nowadays is like, I don't know. I don't know if people pay him to make them or what, but there's a lot of gear that he reviews that I'm just really not interested in. So I haven't watched his channel like in a few years, but um, he does pretty good job, I think. Some of the time, or even most of the time, it's just his gear review videos tend to be like an hour long. So that turns some people off, but they are thorough. Uh, let's see. Any other? So a bunch of people have joined that probably didn't see the beginning of this, so I'll just repeat again. I really, really, really want to make um, some live streaming stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I want to live stream really doesn't work well on this channel. So if you could do me a huge favor, it would add functionality to my actual live stream channel if you would subscribe. Like even if you don't like want to watch any of it, that's fine, but subscription doesn't cost anything and it'll add functionality. Like if I can get 1,000 subscribers and I can live stream from my phone, I can only do that on this channel, and the stuff that I want to live stream from my phone, every time I do that, I lose like 10 subscribers or something. So I learned my lesson. I won't be doing it here. Let's see. What is a Holzhausen? Literally means wood houses. Okay, Mr. Mesmerize. This has been an ongoing argument with James Noka and I. It's basically a way of stacking firewood where you make a 5 foot long rope, and then you pound a stake into the ground and you hook the rope around that, and you lay a ring of firewood in a circle by just moving the rope so that you get a consistent radius of 5 feet. And then you stack, 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 stack up like that, and then you fill up the center with all the pieces that don't stack well. And you can build them, pretty high. I think mine ended up 10 feet high, and it had like 11 full cords of wood in it by the time I was done with it. And then when you're splitting big, huge rounds, what you do is you just shave off shingles from that, and then you put that over. Uh, you put that over the top, and it acts to like shed rain and keep snow out of the wood and stuff. Um, and it's just a way of storing firewood that like looks neat. I don't I think it's only a thing in the United States. So like people think it's like this German way of stacking firewood. Um, I think maybe it's done some in Norway. Um, but I think it's mainly something that US people do to try to make their fire stacks look like European or something. And that's honestly why I did it. And plus, it's a very efficient way of stacking firewood, and it's a conversation piece. You always end up with weird pieces of wood with like knots or Ys in them, and you just throw those in the center. Um, let's see. Scurvy says, "What are you going to live stream, and what's the name of the other channel?" The other channel is Average Iowa Guy Live Streams, and there is a link in the description for this video. It's pretty easy to find. And basically, like I was explaining earlier, it's just stupid stuff. Like I have a lot of interests in things that really don't make make a lot of sense on this channel. Like I like to play games and stuff, and then um, just goofy shit. And over there, I'm live streaming the Knife Journal podcast now, so that people, when we're talking, can like we'll do it live on the air, and like if people want to ask questions and stuff like that, we can answer them live on the air. And then when we're talking about something, we can hold it up and you can actually see it. And then if we're looking at a website, I can pop the website up. And so we did that, and so that's the kind of stuff I'm doing over there. But I need to add more functionality to it, and to do that, I need subscribers. Mr. Mesmerize says, "Here we simply stack, nothing fancy most of the times." Yeah, I know. It's like this. So like if you're an American and you've never been to Europe, like I'm speaking for myself here. When I was younger, you have this idea about the way things are that maybe you read in a book or you saw it on TV or something like that, and it ends up really not being that way. And I think the Holzhausen is a very good example of that. Like it's so efficient and it's so pretty and it's so perfect that I think we look at it and we think, oh, the Germans must have come up with that. um, so there you have it. Jay Watterson says, "Why wouldn't you go to On Point Tactical for Urban Seer? Kevin Reeve taught Chance Sanders." Well, I don't have an answer for that. I didn't know about that school. If you've had good experience there, or if it has good reviews, look into that as well. I just say Chance Sanders because he's like a friend of mine, and I tend to recommend people that I'm familiar with and I know they do a good job. Um, and I don't know about any who taught Chance Sanders, but I know he does have some real life experience in that sort of thing. I'm not saying don't go to On Point Tactical. I just don't know anything about it. Didn't even know there was such a thing. So my recommendations are, again, don't watch anything I do or take anything I say as like the gospel, because really I don't know everything. There's really only one thing I'm an expert at, and that's my profession. Everything else, it's kind of my opinion, and maybe I've done some research and maybe I have a method that works, but it's certainly nothing I ever do or present or say is I would tell you is the only way to do it. That's one of the things that got me in a lot of trouble on a forum. I won't say the name, I got in a lot of trouble there because there's a very orthodox way of doing things, and if you do anything that's not exactly according to the orthodox way, you just get wolf packed. And I just said, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to participate anymore, and I left. Um, and that's yet another reason why I tend to stay away from forums a lot because they tend to develop an orthodoxy and kind of an in-group, out-group type of thing, and um, I kind of have my own way of doing stuff, and ever since I was a little kid, I mean, I want to make people happy. I want to be friends with people and be friendly to people, but in the end, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to follow the crowd. And so eventually I get into trouble on forums. So I tend to stay away from them. I'm trying to I don't know, make this, that's, ever since I left there, I've focused a lot more on just using my YouTube page as a as more of a forum, and that's why I'm doing this live stream, and why I want to do a lot more of them. Stuff like this I can do on my main channel because it makes sense because these are actual subscribers, and so if you're watching this live stream, you're probably going to be interested in it, especially if you have questions or whatever, I can answer them. Any other video suggestions anybody wants to see? I've got quite a bit on my list here, and most of it is cooking related, so I'll get busy on that because I have to eat. Um, and I'm going to do a video on how to do a convex edge. I'm going to do something, I'm going to use some more of my South American footage here. Drumming videos. Okay. Well, I could do that. That's something I could live stream because I actually play out a lot. I've got a gig coming up in 10 days, and actually I got a whole bunch of emails from the guy that hired me I need to go through here. Um, uh, and But I started playing drums when I was 3, and I got paid to play the first time when I was 12, and I've been playing out professionally ever since then. I play jazz, I play rock, blues, country, you name it. I even did a guest performer thing with the U.S. Navy band one time. Then there's this. If you ever hear these like old patriotic marches, chances are they were made by one or a few handful of guys, but Carl King is one of the really famous ones of that, and I actually played with the Carl King band that was in my hometown for a while. Um, so I can play just about anything. Jay Watterson 69 says, yeah, a lot of forums just rat pack on anyone who doesn't agree with their methods or ideology. That's why I like to hear your views on the subject. Well, I don't mind giving them, but again, everything I say, take and evaluate it and make sure that I'm saying something correct, because I'm not right all the time, and I change my mind quite frequently on different subjects. Let's see. Scurvy says, do you watch any YouTube drummers / musicians? Okay, there's this guy, and I'll look him up here on my subscribers list. He basically takes like some epic fill or groove or something like that, and then he transcribes it and breaks it down and shows you how to play it. And he's very, very good at it. And so I'm trying to find his thing. I'm not seeing it here. I don't have a huge number of subscriptions, but he's on there, but I can't find him. Anyway, he like breaks down he'll like break down like a a he breaks down like how to do like Vinnie Colaiuta fills or Dave Weckl fills, like the nines, his linear nines, and stuff like that. So that guy I watch, but not really anybody else. I one of my I will look up specific things. I will do a YouTube search for that, but that's the only guy I've found that I like to watch consistently. Let's see. How do you find the time for all these interests? Well, I make time and I don't sleep a lot. Uh, have you ever made a vid relating to food preservation? Tons of them. So if you go over to videos, that I've got videos on how to make sauerkraut, how to make pickles, naturally fermented. I've got videos on how to do different cured meats and things like that. I suppose I could do a jerky video, but everybody's got one of those, so I really haven't. Oh, and then Scurvy answered, probably answering that why I have time, and it's that I don't have cable, and that's true. I never watch TV. I will, however, watch Netflix a half an hour at night before bed with my wife. We right now, and I have Amazon Prime, so right now I'm watching Bosch, which is awesome, awesome series. Before that, we watched Doc Martin, which is really good, and before that, it was Downton Abbey, which I liked as well. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, The Wire, Sopranos, Deadwood is awesome. Different shows like that, and every once in a while on the podcast I'll mention what I'm watching. Of course, I like Walking Dead. I'm gonna get something. I'll be right back. Sorry, I have to dig for it. Uh, let's see. I found one, but I have the other somewhere. I gotta dig that out. It's worth it. You guys will love it. The heck? Well, anyway, I'll show you the one. I've got two of them. I like them so much. Yeah, I wonder where I put that. Hope Jim didn't walk off with it or something. Here it is. Maybe you can see it from there, but I'm going to bring it a lot closer here in about 2 seconds. I just wish I could find that other one. Anyway, here you go. Boom. Daryl's knife. This is a Team Gemini Light Brigade, and I know there's probably a difference between this and the official one, but that's I have this one that I got, and then I have a black-handled one, and I had Dwayne Keith Puckett make me a replica of the sheath, and it's awesome. I just wish next time I do a live stream, I'll whip that out. It's in here somewhere, but how much time do I really want to spend looking for it? But anyway, so one of my big fascinations is movie knives. My dream movie knife to get would be the knife from First Blood, made by Jimmy Lyle. I would love to have one of those, but they're like $2,000, and I just can't do it. Let's see. Mr. Peter 0201 says the knife handle hand anatomy vid was a thing of elegance. Anywhere else to go there? Well, whenever I do how to make a knife handle video on the channel, I try to point out little things. Maybe I can, maybe next time I do a knife handle, I'll spend a little more time showing why I do different things. Jay Watterson says, I thought you made a jerky video a few years ago. I probably did, I just don't remember. If you look and search on my channel, I may have one. Honestly, I just don't remember. My favorite kind of jerky to make, and I should show this, is where you take eye of round and you cut it like accordion style, so you cut it back and forth so that it ends up in a real long strip. And then you just take salt and lime and black pepper and you turn that into jerky, and it's really good. Never made a video on that. Let's see. Rick T says, I am very behind on podcasts, but whatever happened to the Gumball Rally? Something like that would be cool to livecast. Ah, there you go. For a while, I made a podcast called the Adventure Podcast, and we did, I think, 3 episodes or something like that. And the first episode was basically a live in the car audio of the Gumball Rally. We actually won it. And by win, I mean we were in first at every checkpoint, sometimes more than an hour ahead of everyone else. But we weren't speeding, honest, not at all. So that's kind of cool. That would be a good live stream. I just have to keep the camera focused on something other than the speedometer, because it'd be really boring because it's 54 all the time and it never goes above that. So Jay Watterson says that the difference for the Light Brigade versus the other is hollowing out the tang, and the grind is different. If that's the case, I actually like the Light Brigade then, because if the handle back here, if they didn't skeletonize this, it'd be pretty darn heavy. It might be pretty handle heavy too, because right now the balance is about perfect the way they did it. I know that Bussy, not everybody's a huge fan. I really like the stuff. I have a Boss Jack. If I can find it over there, I'll dig it out, that I use quite a bit. Brought to South America and screwed around with it. Gosh, this is such a mess. I gotta clean this up so I can whip stuff out quicker. But I have the Boss Jack, and then one of my favorites that they did was this one, and I'll bring it over so you can see it. God, I could swear I have. I'm missing some stuff. I gotta dig through there. Anyway, this is one of my favorites that Bussy did, and it's the Badger. I have one of these somewhere in a box somewhere that has a sheath that Armor All Leather, so Dwayne Keith Puckett, that he made, and this is one of my favorite ones that they did, is the Badger. And I liked the Boss Jack too, quite a bit. Let's see. Scurvy says people are saying the new Nitro V steel is basically Infi. So, as I understand it, you can buy Infi, or you can buy steel with the makeup, the exact molecular makeup or formula. I don't know. I'm not a steel guy. I don't know the words to use, but basically it's got the same mix of alloys and elements that Infi has, and it's just chipper steel. But I think maybe the reason he is calling it something different is because maybe he's got a way to heat treat it that is that's different or better. And I asked the person to ask about that is James Noka, because he knows that, or Mike Stewart at Bark River. Those guys know a lot more about steel than I do. And one time Mike showed me where I could buy the exact steel, but he might be doing something different with the heat treat. And I don't know. I really don't believe in super steels. I don't really pay much attention to it. It's never really been something I've geeked out about. I can't say that the steel on the Bussy knives is any better than even any better or that much different than a lot of the other steels. The steels I work the most with are O1 tool steel. I have never had a problem with one of the knives, uh, and I know how to heat treat it real well, and so I use that. And plus, it's pretty easy to forge and get decent results. I do some forging, um, but most of what I do is a combination of like stock removal and forging. So like I'll forge in guards and I'll forge in different things, but um, really to be really super good at forging, um, the guys that do a lot of that are they have like auto hammers. So there's a guy that lives like that way, about an hour by Boyne City, named Tim Zwada, and he's got an auto hammer that when he turns it on, it's so big it like sets off sensors in the earth, whatever that means. But anyway, it's if you've got an auto hammer, you can do things like Damascus. You can do it with a hammer. I just I wear myself out on it, and I don't know. I'm not as good at that, and I can't get the level of precision that I want doing it that way. Um, how do you temper, not quench your O1 tool steel? So what I do is uh, I I'll tell you the entire process. So if I have my blank basically finished, I leave dime thickness on the edge, and basically I have it where I want it to be. I've ground in all the bevels. I've got the handle the way I want it, not the scales, but the actual tang. I've got that the way I want it, hollowed out. I've got all the holes drilled. It's basically ready. All I need to do is finish it. So once it's at that point, I put it in the oven and I do 1450 degrees for 20 minutes, and then I quench in. There's a quenchant oil that I forget the name of, but I bought it from Jant's Supply because it's like really good quenchant oil. I used to use peanut oil, but this stuff is like bomb proof. And then I quench it in there, and then to temper it, I clean it up real well, and I usually do uh, two tempers at 450 degrees an hour each, and I usually end up with a hardness. Um, I have a RC hardness tester. So I test them all to make sure I didn't screw up or that something didn't go wrong, and it usually ends up 59, 60. Occasionally I've had them come in at like 61, 62. The other steel I use a lot of is S35VN, and the only reason I use that, I don't think it's a great steel or a super steel, is that number one, it's a quote stainless, and I wanted to be able to offer that. Number two, I have a really good way of heat treating that, and I get really good consistent results with the heat treat on that particular steel. So those are the two main steels I work in. Obviously, I've dabbled in some other stuff, like obviously lawnmower blades. I've used W2, used a lot of 1095, so stuff like that. But to answer specifically the tempering of the O1 tool steel, I do an hour. I do two temper cycles, an hour at 450 each, cooled down to room temperature in between, and that's usually gets me right where I want to be. Mr. Peter 0201 says DL has a scanner app and live streams some volunteer firefighter actions. Now that'd be cool. Can be a little zesty, I would imagine. Scurvy says try Nitro V. A lot of smaller makers are making that for stainless. I'll look it up. If I can find a source for it, and if I can develop a decent heat treat thing, maybe I'll make a few out of there. I'll see. I don't ever want to sell anything unless I know it's going to work, so I would have to play with it a little bit. let's see. For scanners, there's this app you can get for your phone called 50 Radio, and it's really quite interesting if you listen in when they're having riots. If you go to that city and listen into the police feed, I was pretty addicted to that several times during the recent past. Um, so New Jersey Steel Baron Aldo is a source for that. I'll look it up. Um, I I'll think about it. I'll give you that. Would you ever consider making a straight razor? Um, maybe. Probably not though. Those are very difficult to do right, and um, the guy around here that does those really well is Tim Zawada. I know uh, Jim from Bark River was playing around with those for a while. Uh, I don't know what else. I don't know whatever became of that, but I know they're difficult to do, and I the kind of grinds that I'm good at are freehand flat grinds and a full height convex grind, and of course I do convex edges. I have not really developed the hollow grind all that much because I just I just haven't. So that's probably one reason why I wouldn't do it. Now that being said, any knife that I sell, you can take and I know you can shave with it because I shave with it before it leaves my shop. But it's not the same thing as a straight razor, obviously. Mr. Mesmerize says 14K subs and we are only like 10 people watching. Crazy few people. But I gotta say I like it that way. Never had such a relaxed Q&A. Normally it's a fight for attention on all ends, and I hate it. Well, eh, that's uh, that's one of the benefits of having a little. I mean, I don't want to say it's like great to have a small channel, but it does if you have loyal subscribers that want to watch and interact. This is a really good way to do it, and I'm kind of figuring it out little by little. I've figured out this thing called Streamlabs, and I actually just figured that out today, and that's how I'm putting the chat on the right side of the screen up there. Um, and then I've got it set up so that if someone were to magically subscribe when we're uh, live streaming, it'll like pop up this big thing. It's pretty funny. It'd be funny to see that, but nobody during the live cast has done that. Uh, and then there's a okay. So I added this feature, and don't feel like you have to do it. But the only reason I added it is so that if I do a live stream, it'll pop up this thing. But like if you donate $1 or something, it'll like pop this thing up with your name and like all this sound and stuff. And I watch quite a few live streams of mostly of games and sometimes of some political stuff. And if they have that feature enabled, I get a kick out of it when it's like blowing up and like all this crap is going off. And I don't know, maybe it's a gee whiz thing for me, and maybe I'll get sick of it and take it out. But anyway, um, so I'm just kind of figuring it out. I've got a really good program. I'll show you what I live stream the game from. It's this. I've got an Alienware laptop that I bought for my practice because I needed a pretty high quality laptop to be able to do some of the stuff I need to do for medical records and things. So I bought that, and as it turns out, it's like very, very good at at playing games. And so I bought this streaming software called XSplit, and it does a really good job, makes it really easy to stream stuff like that. The D&D stuff I stream from this computer using OBS. So if you just Google OBS, it's like this free software that you can stream with, and so anyway, I'm just kind of getting into this. One thing I'm definitely going to do next time I do it is instead of using the headset microphone, I'm going to use this thing because that one doesn't shut off automatically. The reason this is shutting off is because it thinks that that it's not being used because I'm not getting audio input through here. So if I played music or something, then it wouldn't shut off. But anyway, it's a pain in the butt. Let's see. Any other questions? Anything you want me to do to make the channel better? So I got a lot of suggestions for videos and stuff like that. Um, we've been at it like hour and 40 minutes. Oh, I can tell you some of the channels I enjoy. Maybe you'd like that. So I've got Anthony Scullambrini on here. I've got Everyday Commentary. That's a podcast I like. Oh, for cooking, there's this crazy one called Cooking in Russia, and all of his videos are like great. He was like a professional chef, and he does stuff like that. Let's see. Of course, I have Nut and Fancy, but I haven't really um, watched much of his stuff lately. Okay, another cooking one I like is VaChef, VAHCHEF. And then it's also Vahrevah, VAHREHVAH. Anyway, he cooks Indian food, and his stuff is awesome. And one of my favorite foods to cook is Indian food. Okay, so when I was in Guyana, I kept hearing this word. It's spelled skunt, and they pronounce it skunt, and they use it like every other word, and I couldn't figure out what it meant. So I did a Google search, and I found this guy named Guyana Rude Boy, and he like bitches a lot, and he just rants all the time, and I get a kick out of him because he's funny. But he also cooks, and he's got a really good recipe for how to make roti, which is an Indian flatbread that they use in Guyana a lot, where you fold it and clap it, and it gets this nice flaky thin. It's not like naan, it's thinner. So he's got a good method to make that, and then his chicken curry is awesome. It's like exactly what I had when I was in Guyana. I am subscribed to Jordan B. Peterson, but I haven't watched very much of his stuff. But I find him interesting. I seen him on a couple of streams that pop up. Okay, now this one is gonna be. Ooh, something happened. What was that? Did you guys hear that? Huh. Let's see. I think somebody donated, but I'm not sure. Anyway, there's this other channel that I get a kick out of. There's two other ones. Uh, there's this guy named V, and he's from Romania, and I get a kick out of him because he gets so fired up and he rants all the time. And he gets in all these fights and has all this drama, and I like to every once in a while I'll check in and see what he's doing. But he got his YouTube channel like demonetized and closed, and so now he's got this other channel that's like smaller. That's it's pretty cool. Um, uh, anyway, let me see what happened there. I gotta look here. Sorry. Let's see. Log in. There we are. So like if somebody, I'll show you the oh, somebody must have subscribed. A couple people must have subscribed during this. That's pretty cool. Let me show you what happens if somebody like Okay, so if I get a new subscriber, this is supposed to happen. Uh, Let me see. Yeah, like that. So it's like this. There's like this little zombie guy that pops up, um, and then if somebody um, donates, there's like a link. Like seriously, don't feel like you have to do it. I really don't need $1, but I do it because I thought it was funny. Let me try it here. Test donation. Let me do it. So I sent a couple of alerts. Why is that not showing up? It should be working. Anyway, that one's not working. And then there's a way and through the chat that you can donate using Google Wallets. Again, don't feel like you should do that. I really don't need it, but I'll test that one, see if it does it. Yeah. So let's see that. So I just get a kick out of it when that happens on people's streams, so that's why I did it. Um, let's see. What else? What was I talking about? I got sidetracked there. Let's see. What's Apfelstrudel? Uh, it, explain that. Just um, explain that a little bit. I know what it is, but are you wanting me to make a video? Because I'm pretty sure that you would make a much better video of that than I would. Um, but I love the stuff. What's my favorite writing instrument? A keyboard and a printer. But if I have to use a pen, I'm not really a pen guy. I fooled around with fountain pens and stuff, but they just ended up being, um, it ended up being more hassle than it was worth. I use pretty much whatever is at hand. In the hospital, there's always like pens around, and it used to be that they were like drug rep pens, but they pretty much banned that. So now it's like, the hospital will buy a whole bunch of Bics, and then it's always a game for me to try to get somebody's pen from them, and then accidentally walk off with it. So it basically whatever's at hand. What happened to be at hand here was a gold Sharpie, because when I did this gig in Clear Lake at the Surf Ballroom. Actually, I have some footage from that. I could put that up. But they wanted us to sign a bunch of stuff, and I walked off with their gold marker. uh, Mr. Mesmerize says, in a way, it's sad that YouTube got so commercialized. You can't watch anything on the hot list. It's constant clickbait, and I'm happy you didn't go that way. I'm not sure what the hot list is. Um, but yeah, I don't really watch. I have specific things that I like to watch, and if I'm looking for something else, search it. Mr. Mesmerize also says all doctors should use keyboards. I sometimes work as a paramedic, and you can never read what they write. And here's living proof. You probably can't read a word of that, and I have terrible handwriting and always have. I tried for a while to improve it. I got this book on how to do better handwriting, and I failed miserably. I mean, I just can't do it. So I use keyboards almost exclusively. Um, let's see. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, other subscribers. While you guys are coming up with stuff, or other subscriptions. Okay, so I found V because he came up on uh, one of my suggested videos. I clicked on something and he came up, and so I watched his video, and it was about how he was mad at uh, gypsies in Romania. I got a kick out of it. My wife was watching. I had my laptop in the kitchen and I was cooking and watching it, and she just burst out laughing, and she's like, "Who is this guy?" So I get a kick out of him. I don't necessarily agree with anything he's saying politically, but I get a kick out of him. The other guy I get a kick out of is I like Joe Rogan. Selected stuff he puts up on the YouTube here, and if I like the guest, I'll watch that. There's another guy. He's a little bit controversial, so I will just say that Uh, hey, Scurvy, catch you later, man. Thanks for joining in. Um, uh-oh. So we're getting a little spam. That's okay. Um, I'll just put that out of there. So, sorry I did that. I just can't have a lot of that kind of talk on the chat. And it's gonna show up on the screen too. So I took it out of there. Again, thanks Scurvy for joining and stopping by to say hi. So this other guy that I subscribe to, again, I don't agree with a lot of what he says politically, but he makes really interesting videos that are very well done, and he has some his big thing that I like to watch is This Week in Stupid. Again, because these guys get so pissed and they rant, and I get a kick out of watching them. And so his name is Sargon of Akkad, Sargon of Akkad, Akkad. That's another one I will watch occasionally. Just for no other reason than I like watching when people are passionate about stuff, and those guys are definitely passionate. And we tend to have some pretty major political disagreements, but I have a pretty open mind. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with you, but I'll hear you out at least. Um, let's see. There's so the other thing I like to watch a lot is I like to watch what is it? The gun sight videos. So like they have these like AC-130s that like fly around and like blow stuff up. Uh, those are cool videos. Uh, any kind of boxing, I love watching. When I was in college, it used to be Tuesday night fights, and I knew a couple of the boxers on there. So one of them was this guy named Jeremy Williams. That was like I think he was a welterweight champion. He was Olympic champion back in this would have been in the late 80s, early 90s, and he went to my high school for a couple years, and I saw him box on there when I was in college a couple times. And then there was this other guy. I think he's dead now, but I think he was in like Rocky or something like that. The one where he trained like a kid. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but anyway, he used to be fun to watch. Um, so I watched him, and he actually showed up in my town when I was in college, which would be Iowa City, and he punched somebody in a Perkins and got in all kinds of hot water. Um, Jay Watterson 69 says Mayweather or McGregor. Um, knowing knowing what boxers can do and having seen Mayweather fight, uh, and McGregor has his strengths, but mixed martial arts is very different, and I watch that too. I love that stuff. But mixed martial arts, in my opinion, is very different from like, like a really trained boxer. And if McGregor can't, get a hold of him and do the stuff that he does in MMA, I think Mayweather's going to have the edge. Because I mean, he's a trained boxer and that's what he does, and he's trained according to the rules of the fight. Whereas McGregor, I'm sure he can box. I'm sure he could kick my ass and probably 10 other people at the same time, but it's a different kind of fighting. Um, it'll be interesting to see because Mayweather is quite a bit older. Um, be interesting to see how that turns out. Um, Jocko Willink has some great stuff. I'm wondering who is that? Chris Thompson says, I gotta go, great chat. Thanks for joining. Um, I'm gonna, I'll try to do these more often. But thanks for joining, and I'm actually gonna wrap it up in about 6 minutes, so you won't miss much. Back to Mayweather and McGregor, I think it's gonna be interesting. If somebody forced me to choose and put money on it, I'd put money on Mayweather. Again, just because of it's like wrestling. Okay, so I was a wrestler, and there are very specific rules. that there are very specific rules that you have to follow when you're wrestling. And so I was very good at wrestling, and I was trained within that set of rules, right? But that doesn't apply. Like, so if I'm really, really good at wrestling, and maybe I can throw a few punches, and actually, I also train in a couple different martial arts, but when you transition from one sort of thing to another, and there's new rules, and you're used to training a certain way, I have to believe that there's going to be some sort of a disadvantage there, even if uh, the younger guy is more passionate and really good at what he does too. Um, hmm. Well, I got about a little under 5 minutes left here. What else do you want to talk about? Anything? Let me see. Who else can I recommend you subscribe to? I got a bunch of stuff on here, but it's not stuff I watch all that much. Chances are I just subscribed because I wanted to support the channel because I found one really good video. Um, uh, hmm. Every once in a while I'll watch Steven Crowder. If I'm cooking or whatever, I'll have it on in the background. Again, this is not somebody I agree with all the time, but he does have some interesting guests on, and he's pretty funny. He did this one thing when the Brexit passed. He did this video where he played this like rap video and had um, it was just funny. That's how I found him. It was kind of cool. Mr. Mesmerize says it's 3 a.m. here and I will leave as well. Hey, thanks for joining. And do send a Black Forest pic next time you ride your motorbike in there. Jay Watterson asks Krav Maga, Sambo, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I really am not familiar enough with that to have an opinion on it. My daughters take Taekwondo from a guy here in town that's really, really good. And he also teaches a Krav Maga class. I am not attending it. I want them to be good at something that I want them to be better at something than I am, and to be able to impress me with their powers and levitation and whatever the hell else it is they're doing. But and that's a joke, okay? Don't don't take that out of context. But no, I don't know enough about the different martial arts. I know there's a lot of people that don't have great things to say about Krav Maga, and I'm not sure. I don't even know what the argument is. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously that tends to do very, very well in the MMA type stuff. I think aren't the Gracies aren't they like the guys that are real big into that? I've watched some of their stuff, but again, I don't know enough about it to really say much else. Oh, there's a guy on YouTube that I watch every now and again. His name is Jungle Crafty, all one word. He has some good stuff, and he does like jungly bushcrafty type stuff. Let's see. Oh, that's probably enough for now. Anyway, I will get working on your suggestions, and I'll try to do some more of these live streams. It was a lot of fun. Spread the word, and if you get a chance, even if just check out the other channel link in the description. It's just going to help me upgrade the technology on the other channel is all. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thanks a ton for watching. Thanks for being subscribers and commenting. And I will catch you next time. Bye.